if you just want to buy one full frame lens for your Sony camera, this is probably it. This is the Sigma 24-70 F2.8. Now, I've actually reviewed this lens before. I had a loaner like 8 months ago, but I've now bought this myself. I've tried a bunch of different lenses. I own mostly primes, and I've never really owned a lens like this before, mostly because I kind of had it in my head that I just wanted to shoot with primes. They were faster, they were sharper, and for the most part, that's true. But after using this almost exclusively on the A7S III since it came out, since I got this camera, I've got to say, this is probably the one lens that does everything the best. And I'm talking for both photo and video. I've shot an entire wedding using just this lens and nothing else. I've shot a commercial martial arts video with just this lens, small business promo with this lens, which had a lot of B-roll and some talking head segments in it. I've shot a bunch of different photos with this. I've shot some portraits with this, numerous B-roll sequences, and it did it all flawlessly. There wasn't one instance where I wanted to grab a different lens or change this lens out for something else, which meant I wasn't worried about if dust got inside the sensor as you're changing lenses, you know how it is, which meant I was able to focus entirely on creating and filming, which is important. This is the best run and gun, one size fits all lens for shooting pretty much anything. And that's exactly the reason that I bought it. I wanted something I could throw on this camera and just go out and shoot. Now you're probably thinking, well, what about all the other lenses that you've talked about before, all the other lenses that you own? We're not discrediting those. The 24 G Master is still my favorite look of any lens, and this is never gonna beat that. I'm just saying this is a better solution for people that want one lens to shoot a large variety of different things. If you're new to photography or video, or you've just picked up a Sony full frame camera, you don't have the money to go and drop on a bunch of different prime lenses. You want a prime to cover pretty much all the scenarios that this will cover, and you're probably looking at like close to $4,000. This costs you $1,099, and you're gonna be very happy with everything you can do with it. 24 is one of my favorite focal lengths for shooting a large variety of things, but you can go all the way to 70 and anything between. And it's at a fixed f2.8, which means at 70, you're gonna have that nice compression, that nice background separation, the depth of field. But you're also gonna get it when you're close up with things at 24. The image quality out of this is just beautiful, straight out the camera. It just has a nice look to it. And the sharpness for a zoom lens is a little bit ridiculous, to be honest with you. It's what you'd expect to see out of a prime lens. Because it is f2.8 continuously, it means on an A7S III or even an A7 III, in low light situations, you're pretty much gonna be set. You're not gonna have to worry. Autofocus is not as speedy quick as with a native Sony lens, but it's not bad, it's accurate, and I've never honestly seen it being a problem. And using this on a rig with a handle, even with a monitor attached, it just feels right in the hands. It's a great setup to use. Now it is weather sealed, but I don't know to what degree. Quick search on the internet reveals there's definite dust issues that some people have with this. However, a common misconception with that is that the dust will show on your images and on your video. Now it's actually a bit too far away from the sensor of the camera to be able to pick that up. The dust is normally right behind the front element here, so any dust or specks you're seeing on your photo or video is likely on the sensor opposed to actually inside the lens, or any of the dust is inside the lens. I do have a couple of specks in here, but with these kinds of lenses, with a zoom lens, the way that this works, it's kind of sucking the lens back in when you pull it back in there, and that will draw dust into the barrel. So it's not unusual to have dust in zoom lenses like this, but just know it doesn't impact your image quality. When I reviewed this before, I did talk about how the loaner unit that I had a loose focus ring, and now I've got my own version. It's still pretty loose, but you do get used to it after a while. And you're probably wondering, how does this compare to the Tamron 28-75? And I've owned that lens before, and I didn't love it. It never really had like a wow factor to it that I get from using this lens. The build quality on that lens just isn't on par with the build quality of the Sigma here. Images look better, they're sharper, autofocus is more accurate on this. Overall, I just think this is a much better lens than the Tamron 28-75. Not to mention that 28 versus 24 is a lot more than you think. To me, 28 isn't that wide, 24 is like the perfect wideness. So something to bear in mind. So if you're just looking for one lens to shoot a variety of different subjects for both photo and video, just stop looking. Sigma 24-70 f2.8 is what you need. That's it.